it's all to play for still.
I think so. Do you want to bet against us?
Paul McGrath podcast, and a busy last 2 days for Aston Villa Football Club as they went and played in the Stade Velodrome versus Marseille yesterday, and then on to win the Trophy Ceramica at El Madrigal against Villarreal today. And two good outings, I think, two good tests, I would say, more so than anything else, for this team, and interesting usage of players, I think, from Unai Emery. So we're going to have a little bit of a discussion about that today. If you guys wouldn't mind, if you guys could let me know how my audio is throughout the course of the podcast. I'm getting some freezing issues for whatever reason. I think there's updates that need to be done somewhere along the line, but I've updated everything and I can't seem to figure out where the freezing is coming from. So if you guys do notice any issues, I'll keep the comments open and you guys can tell me. You can tell me if that is happening. But yeah, so let's have a little talk. So there's no real structure. I don't have that much structure for this podcast. It's more just kind of like an information dump more than anything else about the last 2 days. And really, I think I can see massive benefits of those two games. Yesterday's game was a fiery affair. I think most people have noted on it that Marseille were pretty robust, let's say, with regards to their undertaking of the game. Lots of tackles, lots of kind of edge in that game against Marseille, obviously culminating in the alleged spitting incident from Mason Greenwood and Tyrone Mings offering him out for a straightener, which I think is worth the $5.99 to watch on its own. But Villa in that game, I think, obviously had a much better first half. Second half, then they were outplayed by Marseille, especially when Marseille made their substitutes. And he's a wily old fox, Pierre Aubameyang. He comes on, he gets those two goals, and Villa were disjointed in that second half and looked a small bit lethargic, which is I'm not worried about. I'm certainly not worried about. But in the first half, I thought we played really well. I thought we looked very up for it, and I thought we pinned Marseille back quite a bit in that first half. Daniel Manning looked pretty good. In the first half, John McGinn's goal was really good, chipping it over the keeper, showing composure, which was super to see. Excuse me. And so George Hemmings playing in midfield, getting a lot of love from the fans and a lot of love from everybody online. And as I've always said, I've said lots and lots of times before, I'm really high on him. I think he's going to be a super, super smart footballer. And he was proving that yesterday, specifically in the first half when things were humming over. Just his positional awareness and he looks like a player who'll do what he's told, and they're worth their weight in gold, specifically when they can do what they're told and implement it at that high level. Marseille are no mugs, obviously. They've got a squad littered with talent, absolutely littered with talent. And even when they were making the substitutions and they were bringing people on, they were bringing on seasoned pros. Not that Aston Villa weren't, but we did utilize people like Bradley Burrows, Jamal Oba came on in the second half, Travis Patterson. So it was an interesting game last night, I think, and it was a very, very good run out against the team that play a very interesting, and I won't get into it, I suppose, really, with regards to Marseille, because everybody knows De Zerbi's style. But I think at Marseille it's kind of morphed and it's kind of almost gone up a level, because of the quality of players he has at his disposal. Not that he didn't have quality players in Brighton as well. But I thought Villa, when Villa came out in the first half and they were I thought that they were very well structured, quite a bit going forward anyway. Specifically, you could see how their wing play was beginning to I suppose kind of slightly evolve in this in this off season. And I was interested. I was interested in that first half. Put it that way. That's the best way I would describe it. And as I say, obviously we go in 1-1. at halftime. Then they come out in the second half, and they're just a better team in the second half. And then when we move on to tonight's game, I think Villa rode their luck in the first half. Obviously, we get that goal from Ollie Watkins in the 24th minute. And I have to say, Ollie Watkins, obviously 5 goals and 5 pre-season performances. You know, when you want your striker scoring goals, that's what I've said before is, you know, there's never a bad game for your striker to score goals in. And specifically, there's never a bad run of goal scoring for a striker to have. So it's really, really, it's really good to see that. I think this finish is going to get the finish that he had tonight. I think it's going to get slept on quite a lot. The ball was behind him when he struck that ball. You know, it comes out to him. He takes that touch. He could have had a snapshot at it first time. And Tony Daly mentioned this on the broadcast. Could have had a snapshot at it. He didn't. Takes that touch, but the way the ball came to him, there was a spin on it after the goalkeeper saved it. Goes behind him. He's still able to generate power, but more so, he's able to generate placement and keep his shot low. And it goes into probably the one area that he needed to hit for it to go in the back of the net. You know, caught the keeper unawares. Was a really well placed goal, and I really like that that finish from him tonight. That he was really industrious. One thing that I suppose the kind of that I found was a bit intriguing about his play and our play in general was that he spent an awful lot more time out on that left hand side. And I know we have Buendia and Jim Oloba playing in that first half. Jim Oloba actually as well, who that was probably the best game he's played in the preseason. Thought he showed some really good flashes, some really good runs, and ability to carry the ball as well. So yeah, I think Buendia, Ollie Watkins spent quite a lot of time out on that left hand side, and I don't know that was tactically related or whatever. Maybe it was to try and get Buendia that small bit more space in the middle of the park. But I thought Buendia again was very, very good. You know, he gets his goal. Excuse me. Taken from outside the box, really great work from Kamara, wins back that ball early in the second half and lays it off to Buendia. The temptation for Buendia, because Kamara had gone on the overlap past him, temptation for Buendia was to slide one into to Kamara, and but no, he actually gives, and Tony Daly once again nailed it. Said he gave the goalkeeper the eyes, and he just smashed it in the back of the net, and that's what he did. The keeper knew he was going to shoot, but he picked once again. You know, there was power, there was pace, there was whip in it, and it goes into that left hand, the goalkeeper's right hand side, Emi Buendia's left hand side, and it was a really smart finish. And I thought he was very industrious throughout the game as well. I thought he was very good against Roma. Obviously, and I thought he was very good again tonight. It's great to see him get those minutes in the legs. And some guys played 90 minutes tonight, you know, which I think is good to see too. It just shows the ramping up of preseason. So Aston Villa 2, Villarreal 0 tonight was a really, really positive result. Sorry if everyone, I am yawning. I've been pretty poorly all day today, so there won't be a Villa AM. I won't be recording it tonight and having it out tomorrow. I think I just need to get some rest. And plus, most of the news today is really just about this game. So consider this your Villa AM as well. A couple of other things. So a couple of observations I have in that game. I am still worried about. I'm worried about Ian Matson's ability to defend at the highest level. I'm worried about Ian Matson's ability to defend full stop. His defensive positioning, while it might be something he's asked to do, it frustrates me. And it's only when like in the first half tonight, we rode our luck. They should have gone in nearly 5-1 up, I think, at halftime. You know, they had some clangers that they dropped. Romero dropped a clanger at one stage. There was another lad, Tebenes, I think his name was it, that all he had to do was just tap it in the back of the net and he skewed it wide. You know, Emi Martinez makes 3 really good saves. So they had really good chances in the first half. And what really frustrated me was I can give Tristan Rowe I can give him the benefit of the doubt, being a young player, being somebody who's just making a step up in senior football. But Ian Matson has seen a lot of football, and his defensive positioning it's not the way I would want my left back to be positioned. Put it that way. And the reason that I'm choosing that specific phrase is because I don't know whether he's been asked to play that high up the field. and whether he's that he seems like he's always about 6 to 7 yards too far forward, and it caused an issue. It caused an issue for Pau Torres, big style. Because when you've got Pau Torres in there, he's not the fastest, and he had to cover an awful lot of ground getting lateral. And Ezri Konsa, for all his brilliance as a centre half, you can't really leave someone that exposed, like happens when Pau Torres needs to go and to engage somebody almost on the touchline. So that for me is either miscommunication issues or mental lapse issues or something along the line from on that left hand side, maybe from Ian Matson, or there's a lack of communication between Matson and Pau Torres. Or it could also just have been the fact that we had Emi Buendia and we had Jim Olobo out there on that left hand side, and maybe Ian Matson just missed the defensive capability of a Jacob Ramsey to maybe slow down attacks going down that wing before they get past him. So I don't know. So there's a lot of things, but for me, full back play, both full backs I thought in the first half were iffy. Second half, I must say, Tristan Rowe looked a completely different footballer, as did Ian Matson, and they were quite impressive, actually, both of them. There was a change made. I'm not. There had to have been some sort of a tactical tweak or change made at halftime, because they were a lot more proficient at closing those spaces, and their spacing between them and the centre halves and them and the midfielders was a lot more evident in the second half. So and I have to say I'm still very impressed with some of the young kids that have played in this tour, specifically George Hemmings, Tristan Rowe, and Jim Oloba. I think today that was his best performance. It was nice to see Bradley Burrows get on. Nice to see Travis Patterson get on there as well. They didn't do much in the game, but there was glimpses of what these young kids can do. And one of the biggest things that I found, specifically with Tristan Rowe, he was always kind of strong as a player last year. I mean, physically strong, but it looks like those guys have been on a specific program in the weight room. Jim Oloba looks a small bit more spindly, because that's just his body type and his makeup. He's an athletic type player, but still he seems to have kind of filled into himself slightly. Yeah, he doesn't have big massive biceps or anything. Don't need that. But his shoulders have filled in. And he looked every inch a good prospect out there today for sure. And again, same with George Hemmings. He's really filled out or filled in, whichever way you want to say it as well. And him coming on there and playing in that middle of the park last night was a joy. So he's somebody that really needs a pat in the back. And I think also we kind of forget that he also is a young academy prospect that's really kind of making the breakthrough. You couldn't even nearly say, but Lamar Bogart as well has been fantastic this offseason. Really, really has. Another guy who's looking more athletic and looking like, as I said before, the phrase I would always use for him is the game has slowed down a bit for him. And I mean that, like, that he can see things happening. He's less panicked. He's more composed and less panicked, which is fantastic. Any other talking points? I suppose, yeah, well, not talking about negatives, like Leon Bailey just hasn't sparked into life in this off season. He probably, like, we know that the club is looking to probably sell him. I think Emi Buendia is most likely, well, if the club are looking to sell him, he's probably put an extra 4 or 5 million on his fee now. Because he's had quite a good last 3 weeks, I would say. And he looks a hungrier player. So definitely he has a lot of stars in his copybook from this off season. But like, Leon Bailey has just done Leon Bailey things, like overplayed the ball at times tonight. Like, he hasn't been dreadful, but he's just overplayed the ball at times. And it's the same thing every time. The only time he's able to shoot with the ball is when he slows it right down at the edge of the area, cuts inside, and he's from the right to left and goes to take a shot. And evidently, more often than not now, they're just getting blocked by the right back or by the centre half, or they show him enough leeway whereby when he curls it curls past the post and it goes wide. So there's a lack of imagination from Leon Bailey there in a lot of areas. With regards to, like, final product. So that's something that I have that I would like to see him. I would like to see him change up, because he's 28 years of age now, I think. So it's something that he's going to have to adapt in his game. But British Mick is right there as well. He does. He was being doubled up on tonight, but realistically, I think Taj Buchanan and Pedraza are two decent players out there on that left hand side, and especially Buchanan. Canadian international, was at Inter last year, if I'm not mistaken. Had a very bad leg break at Inter actually, but yeah, if I'm not mistaken, I think that was the same guy. Good players, but yeah, as I say, for Leon Bailey, he hasn't done anything particularly poor. Just hasn't been somebody that's separated himself from the pack, on that right hand side. Want to give a shout out as well to John McGinn. John McGinn looks really fit. John McGinn looks really in the zone. Looks like somebody who went right. I've reached 30. I need to look after myself. I need to be constantly switched on, and he's like that Duracell bunny in midfield. Not that he ever wasn't, but there just looks to be a bit of a spark in him this season. Which is great, which is fantastic to see because he is a catalyst for an awful lot of good things that happen both on the field and within the dressing room as well. Is John McGinn, so I love that. Also, Boubacar Kamara's injury. Don't think it was an injury. It looked like it was cramp. Really, it looked very much like a stereotypical cramp in his calf. He just turned around. He was laughing and smiling as he was coming off. I think, like, and one of the things that kind of annoys me at times is when people say, or when you like, there's like this old trope whereby all professional footballer, you should be fit enough that you shouldn't get cramp. That looked like it was incredibly warm there tonight. And if you're losing body fluid and you're sweating out body fluid, your muscles are going to cramp. Lactic acid is going to attack those muscles for 100% sure. So it's nothing to do with levels of fitness. It's nothing to do with anything like that. Heat factors will be detrimental as well towards things like that, to muscle fatigue and to lactic acid. So I'm led to believe. I'm no scientist, I'm no sports scientist, I'm no physiotherapist. If I'm wrong, please let me know in the comments. But you tend to often see that again in American sports, specifically in the NFL. You see players are taking off heat related because they're cramping up quite a lot, and they go, even sometimes at halftime they'll go in and they'll be hooked up to an IV drip, and then they'll be sent back out then in the second half and be rehydrated. So it looked like it was uncomfortably balmy there there tonight, and that's what it looked like to me. But look, I'm sure Unai Emery and Jacob Tanswell and all the guys that are, and John Townley or whoever's over there will definitely have some updates on that to come over the next day or so. I'm going to come to some of your comments there, guys, because I do appreciate every single one that you put in there as well. Jake says, enjoyed that performance. Villarreal had some chances they should have put away, but all in all, a good showing. Absolutely. Yeah, I agree with that. I enjoyed watching that game as well. Ad says he loved yesterday's game. So did I. I really loved the first half. I didn't really mind the second half. I will be really honest. I missed about 15 minutes of the second half because I had to 15-20 minutes of the second half because I had to tend to an issue with my daughter, yeah, so I actually missed the last goal for Aubameyang, and I missed about 10 minutes prior to that as well. But I didn't mind that game. It was exactly what you want from a tough game, a preseason game, and the right players got the right minutes, I thought. So they got enough time to show themselves and show what they're potentially about in this off season. So once again, I enjoyed both of those games. Andy says Brinde has been good in preseason. Also surprised how well the kids have played. Jim O'Loba looks decent. Yeah, I think tonight he had some really good kind of body feints. Like there was a couple of times where he sold his man. I think he did it twice, if not three times, and was able to through the feint drop the left shoulder, flicked around on his right hand side, and then just and actually carried the ball around him to get past him, which I thought was really interesting. I never really associated him with being a player who could play out in the wing, but he's shown, like, put it this way, I said that Leon Bailey wasn't bringing anything new or new ideas to his game out on the right hand side. Like he's not done anything particularly wrong, but I haven't seen any growth or anything like that from him this off season. Whereas with Jim O'Loba, you could say, like, even those instances there, he's added that to his game that I wasn't sure he had that. I thought he specifically would be straight through the middle player, but he looks like he's got the ability to carry that ball from the wide areas as well, which is always a plus point in the Emery system. Absolutely always plus point as well. Or else are we? Yeah, it was a great finish by Watkins. Didn't fall perfectly for him. Once again, if anyone missed the start of the podcast, I think that was an incredibly good finish from Ollie Watkins. Ball was behind him. He had to dig it out. He had to get pace power and keep it down. And I thought he did that fantastically as well. Don the Jedi says Rowe was so good tonight. Yeah, once again, as I say, there's a lot of I think he had a couple of hard moments. Rowe did in that, like, it was a tough test. Both fullbacks had a tough time in the first half, but they stood up to it. Rowe is, as I said, he's always going to get the benefit of the doubt until he's a season pro for me. Until he has 2 or 3 seasons of first team football under his belt. He's had no real first team football. He's had no massive loans or anything. I think he's acquitted himself absolutely astonishingly well for somebody who's essentially come in out of kids, we'll call it kids football if you want, and to step up and play against the likes of, to play in games like, I don't know if he command all these games, but to be involved in squads against Eintracht Frankfurt, Roma, Marseille, and the game again tonight. They're big European teams, big European teams that will have very good players in those wide positions, and he's going to have to learn to adapt, and he did. He absolutely did. He was much better in that second half, and like Jeremy Pino is no slouch. Like, he's no mug out there. He's an exceptionally good footballer. 20 there, number 21, exceptionally good footballer, and would probably have been a mainstay in that Spanish team, in the Spanish team, only for he did his cruciate ligament near the end of 2023, 2024, I think it was. And he was out pretty much for a whole season. So, brilliant footballer, really good Jeremy Pino, really good footballer. And Tristan Rowe is going to come up against those, and the fact that he can adapt in his game and change the way he plays, to kind of try and nullify or to keep people quiet. That's always going to be a positive, specifically for somebody so young. I don't even know what age he is. Actually, I'm going to Google what age Tristan Rowe is, because Tristan, yeah, that's not how you spell it. Rowe, is it? Let's see. This is what you all come for, as I say. This is the podcasting bliss that everybody comes for. He's 18. Jeez, he's only 18. Wow. He won't be 19 till the 2nd of October. He's an impressive young man. A really impressive young man. 18 years of age, and put in some of the performances he's put in, some of the positional performances he's in. Like, he will get better as a player, but there's things like the top 6 inches for him look to be rock solid. Same with George Hemmings. The consistent scanning of the field, the trying to get into position. Yes, he might be out of position at times, but trying to get back into that position, knowing, understanding, and taking on that the advice, and taking on the grow up mentality, I suppose, for somebody so young. I was actually expecting Tristan Rowe to be nearly 20. And not just nearly 19. I know that doesn't sound like it's a big difference, but to me, that is a pretty big difference, considering what we've seen from him there tonight, and in other games. I thought he's been a real plus point and a real find. Specifically when we're a team that does have a kind of, I will say, we don't have that rock solid right back that has nailed down that position over the course of the time Unai Emery has been here. And I'm not saying Tristan Rowe will do that, but he's another option. He's another potential option. I would expect him to go out on loan this year, get a very good loan under his belt, or maybe if he stays, Garcia goes out on loan. I don't know, but really interesting. British Mick says, I'm highly appreciative of Villarreal showing class and playing the game as a friendly and in the spirit of a friendly. The result means nothing. Shame Marseille wanted a meaningless scalp. Yeah, and it was from minute one. The Marseille game was weird, or the Marseille team kind of behaved weirdly. It was from minute one, but yeah, look, it is what it is. It's over and done with now, and there was some very memeable content came out of it. Paul D says, can you help me out? Cash is really worrying me because he's neither quick or strong. He niggles and gives away silly fouls. He seems a mistake waiting to happen. Can you reassure me? I shouldn't. No, is the answer there, because that's been, like, a lot of that has been Matty Cash. I am not as down on Matty Cash as a lot of people are. I just haven't ever really been. But I certainly don't think that he's the complete fullback. And I think as I mentioned there about Tristan Rowe, there is a quote unquote potential for competition there during the course of this year. I think Matty Cash probably starts as the right back against Newcastle at the weekend. But will he finish the season as our first choice right back? I don't know. Lamar Bogard is making a good play for things. Who knows? It's a massive shame Andres Garcia has been injured for the majority of this offseason. Huge shame, because that's kind of put him behind the eight ball. But then again, you've the emergence of Tristan Rowe as well. But yeah, we need Matty Cash like for the first day of the season. And I would be blown away with Federer if he wasn't their starting right back. But what you say there is still also true. It's true of Matson as well. Not the quick part, because obviously he's lightning quick. But I do think our full back play, like Dean is obviously more solid full back from a defensive point of view. And I think we're searching for that maybe on that right hand side, because as I've mentioned tons and tons of times before, Unai Emery looks like he isn't very happy with that. Like, he's not entirely happy with that right hand side, but he will play the players that he has at his disposal. And Matty Cash will probably be the right back at the weekend. Where are we? Any news on Rodgers? Asked Jerry Sheehan. No, is the answer to that. I would imagine that, that would probably be the most asked question of Unai Emery, or of by the beat reporters, I suppose, over the course of the next few days. Where is he at? What's the prognosis on him being available for Newcastle? I suppose that was really why Evan Gassand has been expedited into two substitute cameos, getting 25 minutes in both games, 25 minutes ish in both games. To be honest with you, tonight he was actually played. He started off on the left hand side. Travis Patterson came on then. He was moved over to the right hand side, and then there was times as well that he finished in the center. But like, he was playing in a front line that had Lewis Dobbin up top, you had Bradley Burrows, and on the right hand side you had Travis Patterson on the left hand side, and then you had Gassand running through the middle. At times. So he's never been put in there with the main cast of characters, really. And look, as I say, it's going to take him a couple of weeks to get up to speed with the Premier League and get up to speed with Emery's tactics as well. But I'd be a lot happier if we had Morgan Rodgers at the weekend. I'll tell you that, really, really would. But hopefully we will get more news on that too. Where else are we? I'm going to scroll down to the bottom, guys. Apologies, I will miss some of the comments there. Robert Boyle says here, Emery has had time to mould the team he wants, so I'm excited to see what he does with it. Did anybody watch Liverpool and Crystal Palace today? You see what Oliver Glasner has done with that Crystal Palace team. They went down 1-0 after 3 minutes, and they had strength of mind to come back 1-1 with the penalty. They went down 2-1 then through a fluke. That was no way Frimpong was taking a shot there. And then they come back to 2-2, and then they go on and win it in penalties. Why am I bringing that up? Because of the continuity of play that those players have, the continuity of playing together, the chemistry. And I've spoken a lot in this off season about how holding on to your players could be the blessing in disguise for this team. We've lost nobody. Crystal Palace have not lost anybody of note, or anybody massively of note, and that chemistry kind of will ring true in tough moments. So when you talk about there that Emery has had the time to mold the team, he has, because most of the guys here, yes, there were some of them away on international duty, but you have the core of the team has been around pretty much for the full off season. We didn't have the Club World Cup. We didn't have European Championships or World Cup to deal with this year. We're international players were away. He's pretty much had hands on these guys for 6-7 weeks, which is absolutely brilliant. And if he can prepare players, and if he can prepare his starting 11, these players for games, he's a formidable coach at doing that. So I think absolutely agree with you. Absolutely agree with you as well. Deadly news, Sai's grandson was signed up by Fleetwood Town. Brilliant. Excellent. deadly stuff. So hopefully he's that's great to hear. That's great to hear because I know how much you are involved in in his footballing career at the age of 8. So go man, Si, for that one. Jake Aston Villa asks a great question. Do you think Bailey might benefit from a stint down the left hand side if he doesn't leave on his left foot more, hopefully taking on players able to whip a cross in? I think Leon Bailey's best game last year came when he played on that left hand side in I think it might have been a Carabao Cup game. I can't remember, and I thought he was much better. But we've never seen that from Unai Emery. And to be honest with you, I think Leon Bailey will. I think Leon Bailey won't be here from the end of the transfer window. I think that I just don't think he will be. I don't think there's. I think that's pretty much written in the stars. That he'll be gone. Yeah. So Robert Boyle asks, can Villa's parent company sponsor players to boost their wages? That way Villa could reduce wages. No, they can't. But other companies can sponsor them. What I'm meaning by this is, let's say X player signs a contract with Villa, and all of a sudden, Aston Villa tie in or negotiate as well a deal for a boot sponsor. I don't know if this can work like this, but maybe let's say because of the ties with Adidas, and I don't know, is that what you're getting at, Robert? Like maybe let's say Boubacar Kamara signs a 200 or a 150 grand a week contract at Aston Villa, but then Adidas come in and then supplement with a massive sponsorship deal from him. I mean, it could happen. I don't know about the legalities of it. That's definitely a good question for Kieran Maguire, though. Definitely a good question for Kieran Maguire and Price of Football. I think he could. Yeah, and there's Jake Aston Villa asking that sign him all to Adidas, give him a wage and reduce wages at Aston Villa. I mean, you probably could. But I would imagine that there's some ethical and there's some loopholes around that. In fact, actually, I'm pretty sure isn't that what there's a touch of that Man City are in trouble for in the 115 charges. I'm actually pretty sure there's stuff like that other companies that were paying Roberto Mancini, but they were owned by the owners. I think there was something mad, like did he get like 5 million to go out and coach a 2-hour session out in Saudi Arabia or Qatar or somewhere like that? I can't remember. There's something mad like that in the 115 for Man City as well. So I would imagine that there is some legalities against that being so blatant. Right. I am going to, first of all, thank everybody here for joining me. I've gotten to 33 minutes without falling asleep, which I think is an absolutely brilliant achievement on my behalf. I will be patting myself on the back. I'm going to walk back into the house now because I didn't think I would get that far. But I do want to say thanks a million to every single one of you guys here for some great comments. Thanks a million for joining. I'm going to come back in. We will get back on the Villa AM stuff. I'm pondering whether I would only do it in weekdays, because usually weekends will be taken up with literally just match stuff, which we'll be covering anyway. But we'll see there. We'll see what happens there. But Villa AM will not be running in the morning. We will return probably on Tuesday morning with Villa AM because I'm really liking doing those little segments. And yeah, we're ramping up for Newcastle now at the weekend, and I'm sure there's going to be tons and tons of news coming out over the next few weeks, as well as we ramp up towards the end of the transfer window too. So thanks so much, everybody. If you don't like and subscribe to the podcast, just click on the subscribe button. It costs you nothing. And also for people who, even if you don't listen to the podcast on the podcast apps, Apple, Spotify, whatever, if you could go there and follow the app or whatever you do and subscribe to it on those podcast networks. It's just really good for us from an algorithmic point of view. You guys may or may not know that we are part of the Sports Social Podcast Network as well. So predominant, like you guys will, a lot of you guys will obviously be more familiar with me from YouTube and stuff like that, but the podcast entity is huge as well. and costs you nothing to do that, but it fires us out into the stratosphere and gets more and more downloads and more listens there as well, which is obviously beneficial for us algorithmically as well. So even if you don't listen to podcasts, listen on the podcast apps, if you could go there, it'd be real good solid for us, really help us. So that would be really appreciated. Anyway, that's my little bit of sales pitch over, and I'm going to leave you all go and have a wonderful Sunday afternoon, evening, night, or morning, depending on where you are in the world. We'll be back again tomorrow, probably with more stuff on Aston Villa. But until then, everyone, stay safe, stay healthy, and all that's left to say is up the Villa.